Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So, quick note before I start this video, a lot of you have already seen this video because this is a re-upload. I started a second channel called Codependency Healing, where I was going to document my codependency healing journey and make content specifically for those people who struggle with codependency. But that would be before I started doing tarot, and now it's like there's no way I can run a tarot channel, do tarot readings, and operate on this channel and also on that codependent healing channel. So the codependent healing channel is coming down. It only has 3 videos on it anyway, and all the content that I was planning on making for the codependency channel, I'm just going to put it on here, and I feel like that'll be more beneficial to everyone, because even if you aren't a codependent, I do feel like it's still important for you to understand codependency so you can kind of understand people that you may be interacting with. So yeah, the codependent healing channel is coming down, but no worries, because every single thing I was going to post on there, I am posting on here instead. So yeah, if you guys seen this video already, I guess you can watch it again if you'd like. And I hope that it is helpful. So thank you guys for everything, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know what codependency is, it's basically a dysfunctional pattern where you rely on your relationships to meet all of your emotional needs. Now, that doesn't just have to be a romantic relationship. It could be a friendship. It could be your relationship with your family members. Just basically anybody who you become attached to, and you base your whole sense of self-worth around that person. And usually when you have codependency, you will end up in very one-sided relationships, because when you're relying on somebody to meet all your emotional needs, and when your self-esteem and self-worth is wrapped up in that person, you'll usually attract very abusive people who will take advantage of that fact. I think this video is so important because if you don't know that you have something, then you can't cure it. So if you behave this way, but you never could really put a name to it, or you never really thought about how much is affecting your life, then you really can't heal it. You know, you have to reveal it and then heal it. Okay, so the first sign of codependency is feeling empty when you are not in a relationship, which is pretty self-explanatory. If you've just been the type of person who has never had a real passion in life outside of a romantic partner, and you feel like when you don't have a romantic partner, life just seems extremely empty and dull, then you may struggle with codependency. And you can see why that is an issue, because people come and go. Nobody is here forever. So if you're wrapping up your entire sense of happiness in one person, when that person leaves, you feel empty and dead on the inside. So then you have to run and find the next person, you know? And that's what makes this pattern so dysfunctional. Sign number 2 is that you have poor boundaries. So boundaries are basically rules and guidelines that you set for other people in order for you to feel safe. You know, it's basically telling people how they are allowed to act towards you, and if they cross those boundaries, then you have to enforce some types of consequences for them crossing that boundary. And when you have poor boundaries, it's like people can pretty much do whatever they want to do to you, and you never actually give them any type of consequences. And boundaries can be physical or they can be emotional. Like a physical boundary could be like when someone's coming in to give you a hug and you're like more of a person who likes to shake hands. You know, you can enforce that boundary by, you know, kind of backing up and like extending your hand, like, no, let's shake on it. And someone who doesn't respect your boundaries will just like pull you in and hug you anyway. And in that moment, that's when you have to speak up for yourself and tell them, you crossed my boundary. But someone with codependency has a hard time speaking up and telling someone like, hey, you're crossing my boundaries, you know. And an emotional boundary could be like you telling someone that a certain topic triggers you, so you don't want to discuss certain things, and they continue to discuss it anyway. That's crossing an emotional boundary. But someone with a healthy set of boundaries will immediately tell that person, hey, if you do this again, I'm going to cut you off. And if the person does it again, they will cut them off. But someone with codependency doesn't really do that because they have poor boundaries. The third sign is not knowing your own needs and thoughts. Now, this is something that I struggle with a lot in my codependency healing journey, because sometimes I'm not even aware when I'm hungry or when I need to feed myself. Like I can get so unaware of just my basic needs. Like I have to sometimes schedule when I need to eat, when I need to sleep. Like sometimes I have to call my sister to ask her how I feel. And I know it sounds like, for anybody who doesn't have codependency, it sounds crazy, but my sister knows. We have like an ongoing joke. I'll call her and I'll be like, Juju, I don't know how to feel. How do I feel about this? And it's like, it's funny because then she helps me sort out my feelings, but it's kind of not funny because it is a product of codependency. Sometimes I don't even know how to feel about certain things, or I'm not even in touch with my own basic needs and emotions, and that is a sign of codependency. And that usually comes from, you know, childhood wounding, not being nurtured properly by your parents, and them not tending to your needs kind of makes you forget about your own needs as well, and just focus on other people's needs and forget about your own. Number 4 would be needing to be liked. Now, as human beings, we all want to be liked anyway. We all want to be accepted. But when you have codependency, it's like to an extreme amount. Like, you become an excessive people pleaser at your own expense. You know, it's like you walk around and you constantly worry about what people think of you, what people are saying about you. Am I being nice enough? Am I putting a smile on my face? Do I look mean? Like, you're constantly worried about what other people are going to think of you, to the point where you're making yourself anxious and you're making yourself uncomfortable. And you go out of your way to people please. You go out of your way to do whatever someone asks you to do, simply because you want to be liked by them and you don't want them to think that you're a mean person. Like, someone will ask you to do something and you know that you don't want to do it, but you don't want to come across as mean, so you do it anyway, and then you just end up being pissed off about it later and like angry about it later, but really you should have just said no. And when you make any type of mistakes, you fixate on those mistakes. Like, it could be mistakes from like 3 years ago, and they can cross your mind, and you're just like, oh my God. Like, you get so embarrassed, and you start thinking like, I wonder what that person thinks of me. When really, that person most likely forgot all about that tiny little mistake. But with codependency, it's like your mind fixates on every little flaw and every little mistake that you make. And number 5 is being attracted to people that you need to fix. Always taking on someone as your project, and that's for a couple different reasons. With codependency, you do have a deep wound within you that needs to be healed, and that is very difficult for a lot of people to face. So usually they will take on other people's problems and try to fix other people's wounds as a way to distract themselves from their own pain. But also, codependents have a low self-esteem, so they tend to seek out people who they feel almost like they're above. And it's not even in an egotistical way, like, okay, I'm better than you, so I want you. But it's like they don't feel like they deserve people that are of a certain status, or who look a certain way, or who behave a certain way. So they'll seek out broken people, because it's kind of like that's who they feel like they deserve. And they will also seek out people who remind them of their emotionally unavailable parents or their abusive caretakers. So if your parent was emotionally unavailable, you might continuously seek out partners who are emotionally unavailable, and you will jump through hoops and hit backflips for this person, hoping that they will open up emotionally and love you, because then it's like, in your mind, that's almost healing your trauma with your parents, you know. And this never goes well. This never goes well, because you just can't have someone, you can't put that responsibility of someone healing you, even if you don't know that you're doing it consciously. You're doing it. You can't put that weight on someone else's shoulders. And people who are emotionally unavailable, like the amount of work you have to do to open these people up, I mean, it just never happens. You can't fix them. You can't open them up. Like, they have to want that for themselves. You can't fix anyone but yourself. So codependents have a tendency to try to fix people in the hopes that that person will love them and it'll fix them in return, if that makes any sense. So the 6th sign that you struggle with codependency is that you have a intense fear of abandonment. So whenever you get into a relationship, or whenever you form an attachment to someone, it's like always this fear playing in the back of your mind that that person's going to leave you. And when that person does leave you, it can cause you to have a massive, massive breakdown. I mean, if anybody that you love walks away from you, it's going to hurt. But for codependents, they feel it like 10 times worse, because they have that internal wounding of abandonment. It's like that wound that tells them that you're being abandoned because there's something wrong with you, because you're not good enough. And that usually stems from childhood. We all know by now, watching my videos, everything is based in childhood. And some codependents, this fear is so intense that they won't even bother getting into a relationship. They just stay away from relationships all together, but they feel empty inside without the relationship. So it can get, there are different types of codependence. Like I said, on this channel, we'll get into all of that. But yeah, fear of abandonment is definitely a sign of codependency. Number 7 is trouble communicating. And a lot of people have problems with communicating. So it's not like just because you have trouble communicating, that means you have codependency. Codependency is more rooted in the reason behind not being able to communicate. And usually it's because it's that fear of abandonment, that fear of upsetting their partner. So codependents tend to suppress their own feelings because they feel like if they express their grievances, their partner's just going to up and walk away. It's like, I can't say how I feel because then that person might get upset and that person might leave me. So I'm just going to suppress the way that I feel. And I do want to point out that, like, I'm saying partner in this, but it doesn't have to be a romantic partner. It could be you have trouble communicating with your friends because of fear of upsetting them. You have trouble communicating with your siblings, with your parents. It could be just with anybody, with your boss. Like, codependency doesn't have to just be in your romantic relationship. So I had to point that out. Number 8 is being in a constant fear of anxiety, whether you're in a relationship or not in a relationship. And again, this can apply to any type of relationships, friendships, take it as it applies. But it's like when you're not attached to somebody, it's that anxiety of worrying, are you ever going to find someone? Like, are you ever going to find someone who understands you? Are you ever going to find someone who loves you? Like, just that constant anxiety. But then also when you're actually with someone and you're attached to someone, it's that fear of losing them. Again, that goes back to that fear of abandonment. That plays a huge role in codependency. It's like this constant anxious feeling that something is about to go wrong, which is crazy because it's like, you would think that when your relationship is going well, that anxiety would lessen, but it doesn't. It just makes the anxiety even worse because you're like, oh my God, it's going so good. I'm so happy. Oh, something's about to go wrong. And then, like, you get so anxious. It's almost like, comment down below if you have codependency and this resonates. Because with me, with my codependency, it's like when the relationship is not going well, I have less anxiety. It's weird. The more love you feel from that person or the more connected you feel to them, it's almost like the anxiety sort of heightens because, like, that fear of abandonment gets stronger. I don't know if that makes any sense. But yeah, comment down below if you can relate to that in any way, shape, or form. Number 9 is feeling the need to control your partner. Now, this is something that a lot of codependents, I feel, don't even realize that they're doing, because I feel like with codependents, we kind of pride ourselves on not being abusive or not being manipulative, like how narcissists are or how abusive people are. But we can be controlling and manipulative, not intentionally, but as a defense mechanism. So for example, when I was with my ex, there was this girl that would constantly comment on his pictures. Like, she'll comment like inappropriate things on like his tweets. And I was always like, what is this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, naturally, when you're with someone and you're attached to someone, that type of thing kind of gets to you. You're kind of like, okay, what is this? He would just be like, oh yeah, well, I'm not going to pay any mind to it. But really, what I really needed or wanted him to do was to tell her, like, hey, relax, calm down, like, stop commenting on my stuff like that. But he was just like, I can't control what other people do, so I'm just going to ignore it. And I felt very, not good about that, because we had already had some rocky situations in our relationship and the trust was already shaky. So, like, a person who doesn't have codependency, they will express their need, and if their partner is just like, well, no, I'm not going to tell her to stop, they will just walk away from the partner. Like that. It'll be like, okay, well, you clearly don't care about my needs, so I'm leaving. But a person with codependency is so attached to their partner, it's like, instead of leaving, I'm going to try to control the situation. You know what I'm saying? So I'll, like, curse him out, or, like, throw a fit, or, like, write the girl myself and be like, listen, stop commenting on my man's stuff. Which, in this case, I didn't do that, but I'm saying it crossed my mind. But that's just an example of how you can feel the need to control the situation instead of just walking away. Or other means of control could be, like, even forbidding your partner to go certain places, like using, like, guilt trips, like, well, why do you want to go to the party instead of hang out with me? Like, you don't want to, like, why not just stay here with me? And that's okay. Like, it's sometimes where, yeah, you don't want your partner to go out certain places. You want to spend time with them. But when it's coming from a place of feeling fearful that they're going to cheat, or feeling just anxious or worried, it's like, if you feel that way in your relationship, someone who is healthy, I guess you can say, emotionally stable, if their partner gives them a reason to feel that way, they will just probably end up leaving, you know? But a codependent, it's like, let me control the situation because I don't want to leave. Let me try to control what my partner does because I don't want to leave. Let me emotionally manipulate my partner because I don't want them to leave me, or I don't want to leave them. You know what I'm saying? And number 10, and I think what is the biggest sign of codependency, is feeling obsessed and addicted to your partner. And it's like, when you have codependency and you know your partner's not good for you, you know your partner's abusive, you know your partner doesn't care about you, you know that you want to leave, but you feel like you cannot leave because you feel addicted to them. And this is what gets under my skin about people who judge these type of situations, because they don't really understand. I want to leave. I just feel like I can't leave. I feel like I'm trapped. I feel like I'm stuck. So people will see like a woman who's in a codependent relationship, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, she's so stupid. She's so dumb. Just get up and leave. Like, ugh. For example, that whole Hurt Bae situation. Like, the number of posts I was seeing that was just calling her stupid. That was just, oh, she's just dumb. She's a dumb girl. I'm just like, do y'all not understand? Well, they don't understand because they don't struggle with this type of codependency. You know in your mind that you're being dumb. Like, you know in your mind that how it makes you look. But you feel like you can't walk away because you have this sick almost attachment to your partner, and you just want their love and validation so bad. Like, so bad to the point where it consumes you and it hurts. And instead of people showing compassion for that fact, they'll just write you off as being dumb, or being weak, or being silly, or being stupid. And that's something that always bothered me. It always bothered me to the point where, like, if I was in a codependent relationship, I would just hide what my partner was doing. Or, like, I'll just not speak on the bad parts of my relationship because I knew I would be labeled as dumb. And because I was hiding that, I wasn't getting any support in getting out of those relationships. You see what I'm saying? It's like when you shame someone with codependency, you're just upping their chances of staying with that abusive partner, because they already feel ashamed, and then you're shaming them and lowering their self-esteem even more. So then it's like they really hook on and attach to their partner. It's not a fun disorder or behavioral pattern, I guess you can call it. It's not fun to have codependency, obviously. And that's one of the main reasons I'm starting a second channel, because like when I found out that I had codependency and I was researching the symptoms, it's so overwhelming. Like, it's so overwhelming, the number of problems that comes along with having codependency. It distracts you from what's important in life. It distracts you from your goals. It's like your whole world is about finding love and validation from outside of yourself, and when you don't have it, you can't function. And people don't understand like how badly that hurts, and people don't understand how hard it is to change when you've been that way your whole entire life. Like, I'm 26 years old. This is 25 plus years of programming that I'm trying to basically deprogram and insert another program into my mind, into my subconscious mind, of a healthy person, an emotionally healthy person. It's not easy. So with codependency, like I said, with this sign, being obsessed with your partner, that's the main component that's going to be difficult to break, but it's one of the most important components of it, because you have to break free from these toxic attachments to even begin your healing. So I'm hoping that this channel will help you to understand yourself better and help you in your healing journey, in your healing process. And I hope this video was helpful. And make sure you subscribe to this channel and share this channel with anyone who you think may struggle with codependency and who may need some encouragement in their codependent healing journey. And also be sure to give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you again for watching.